with the biggest one of this weekend, one that people were saying was a flop. At 350 mil, I think is what it made opening weekend. If that's a flop, please send those numbers our way. Fast X is the newest one in the Fast and Furious franchise, a movie that just decided to be the greatest hits of everything else. Part of this movie is just Fast 5, which I don't know if you have a favorite. Fast 5 is easily the best for me.
Yeah, I feel like most people, if they're not like early Fast and Furious fans, they either go with Fast 5 because that's the most satisfying action movie with big set pieces, or they go with Furious 7 because that's the one that has that like really emotional climax with the whole Paul Walker situation. But I tend to lean more on the Fast 5 side of things.
So I'm curious. I came out of this one and I was just like, yo, I think this might be the best one since Furious 7. Further that, I think it may be the best one since Fast 5. Where are you landing? Is it too fast or too goofy?
I think I agree with you, actually. I pretty much enjoyed this one and maybe enjoyed it a bit more than I expected to. Just like, I'm going to borrow a point from my buddy Brett on the Roger Ebert and Me podcast that these movies are a lot like cinematic McDonald's. And sometimes you go to McDonald's and it feels gross and you feel greasy afterwards and you hate that you made that decision to get it. But sometimes you go and the fries really taste perfect. And like, look, this is not high art cinema by anybody's imagination.
High calorie cinema.
Exactly. And it gets the job done. It is like good, tasty garbage. None of the actors look like they're on location. Most of them look like they're not in the same room with each other. A lot of it is CGI, just sort of action pieces instead of any of the like real tangible stuff. But I think it's like epic in a way and grand, and at this point, they have so many people who have been in this franchise at one point or the other that they're basically able to like Avengers Infinity War this and bring in anytime they need to have someone like for a small scene to stitch things together to the next scene, they bring in like an Oscar-winning actor. It's
insane.
Enjoyable. The only thing is, like, a lot of those performances are then, like, surrounded by Vin Diesel doing his best to be, like, brooding and contain a world within him, and he just doesn't really have that depth. But these movies don't really go that deep either, so it's not like a huge loss. I found it to be mostly enjoyable. I thought the first big action set piece through the streets of Italy was like a lot of fun in a similar way to the Rio de Janeiro one was. Yeah, but it's mostly it's goofy, and I like particularly in the history of the franchise where you've had a lot of big and famous names in the villain role. Getting Jason Momoa to do basically like a slightly effeminate Joker character, it's maybe my favorite villain in the history of the series.
In rewatching it, it is beat for beat Joker. We're cutting up the LME right now, dude. It is insane how far he went into it. One of my favorite aspects of it that I haven't seen a lot of people cover is that even his car is the opposite make to Dom's car. They went down to little details where this man is easily not just the best villain of this franchise. This is probably one of my favorite performances, just over-the-top performances of this year. He made the movie for me. I thought the way that they were able to slip him in.
Performance? I was trying to think that. Like, I think I enjoyed him here more than anywhere else.
They always make fun of him in Dune is really good, but the way they make fun of him in Aquaman for being like my man, you can sense that he had a little bit of humor to him. They finally unleash him in a way where a lot of the stuff that he does here is improv. I did not realize that the part with his tooth, him pulling out his tooth, him getting slapped around, those were things he was making up on set. And I'm like, dude, we need more of that. I don't want to see you scripted. I don't want to see you brooding. Yeah. I love seeing this over-the-top character that he was bringing in.
It's a silly franchise, and he is silly about it. I think it's a perfect match.
That's the problem with 8 and 9, in my opinion. I think that 8 and 9 was taking themselves too seriously, and they got to a point where it was pretty much just clashing egos, as we know. Fast X does this thing where it breaks the fourth wall. And I've been seeing a lot of people, Zach, who have been given some other franchises passes for certain kills and people who should not have come back. Scream 6. For certain fourth wall breaks that have been happening. Fast X does all that but knows how to eat his cake and have it too. I thought that they did it beautifully with these new characters that they brought in with Ames. You had mentioned Oscar winners. I know that not everybody may like a Brie Larson in there, but that's another Oscar winner who asked to be in the franchise. You have Rita Moreno, who's now in the franchise. All of these people who want to be a part of the family, and they may not always bring the biggest aspect to it, but the fact that they've been able to kind of have a smorgasbord of having so many storylines happen at once. Like when we were breaking it down, you have like Dom having a whole storyline while like Letty's over here doing just one fight throughout the entire movie for days. Then you have the London crew who's just goofing around, meeting different cameos here and there. Like you said, it's an MCU movie where, to me, they've just become Christian Avengers at this point. They do everything by faith.
I liked your faith-based Avengers line on Letterboxd.
Honestly, because we're at a point where I don't know if the missions are impossible, but through God, all things can happen, because this man does a little prayer, he clutches onto his cross, and he makes it happen. You and I were kind of disappointed that we didn't get those, they did this really clever thing where they were giving out the Fast X. It's like a mixture of his cross while at the same time being the X that they're using. It's not gonna load here. The X that they're using for the franchise, and they were giving them out as keychains. You can put them as a necklace. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to jump on that merch if possible. But in terms of the series, I think they're back on track because they know what they're delivering now. They're not so high on egos. It's CGI, but at the same time, I was surprised to see how many practicals they had in there. I love the villain. And I'm kind of down for this trilogy. He had mentioned that he's got some big names he wants to bring in store for the future. They said they already got the final frame ready. Like, this is the finale of Lost. I'm all in, man. I've got my gear shift and drive. I'm ready to see what they have in store. But I saw that it was pretty mixed reviews for a lot of people. And I think it's weird that a lot of people are criticizing, right? But they're criticizing it for the weirdest reasons, as if this isn't the 10th movie where we're all over the top now. It's like looking at an MCU movie and going, trees? Trees don't talk. Trees don't talk.
I just kind of don't see why you would give a pass to some of the previous installments of this franchise, but not this one specifically. Because this one, to me, feels like the right mix of elements you want in a goofy, car-forward action movie like this one. And yeah, it's, as we sort of mentioned, it borrows heavily not just from Joker for inspiration for Jason Momoa, Avengers Infinity War for kind of the way things are left. It even feels like it has elements of like Top Gun Maverick in like the old guys still got it. But
there is one line, yes.
Yeah, but it works, and it's. I don't know if I want to see the full trilogy. I think they could wrap this up in one more movie. But
it was supposed to be two, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was a whole bunch of scuttlebutt about Justin Lin leaving the franchise midway through, and Louis Leterrier assuming the directing reins. How do you think the boy did stepping up into the director's chair for Fast 10?
Oh. My man killed it. If anything, there wasn't enough transporter in there. I wanted to see more of a reunion there, but they leave it so that there's definitely going to be a lot more. Did you? I thought he did a great job, but did you like the cliffhanger aspect of it? Because I was embracing myself for it, knowing that they were going to do this trilogy thing. I don't know how your audience was. My audience was like mixed to it. Half of them could not believe it. Some were waiting there not for an after credit scene, but because they thought it was going to continue.
I think if you asked me that question like 10 years ago, I might have been a little more pissed off about it, because I think a movie should be a complete statement. Like that's what I want in my movies. But that's not what blockbuster filmmaking is anymore. Marvel is making movies feel like TV, and Fast is just kind of borrowing from that. And yeah, like you said, like they have set this up to be the finale. Like we all know that they're coming back with another one. They may not have called this Fast X Part 1, but they should have. I think I would have preferred it as a film if it could be standalone, but I don't mind it because we're all going to be back in the theater 2 years from now anyway. And the cliffhangers they give you, we don't really think any of those people are in trouble, do we?
Absolutely not. It's funny for them to take out a couple of people and then return with other people, and I'm like, all right, so who cares at this point? I had a blast with Fast X Part One, I'm excited for the how they're gonna wrap it up. Like you, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do spin-off. They keep hinting at that as well. They want to do a Furious Female so bad. I feel like that's another reason why they keep getting a bunch of Oscar winners in here. But besides, I'll wrap it up with this. Definitely go out to the theater. It has a thumbs up for me if you know what you're getting into. This is a crazy, over-the-top blockbuster, and for Jason Momoa alone, I think it's worth the price of admission. Do you have another favorite character in the slew of Avengers cast that they got now, besides Jason?
I didn't love Charlize as a villain in the last film, but I think they use her in a fun way here, particularly playing her off of Michelle Rodriguez. They have maybe the best single fight in the film. So I'd enjoyed Charlize Theron in this moment, or in this type of role.
I'm going to agree with you there and add the exact same sentiment for John Cena. They also did so much better with John Cena in this movie. He was so boring in the last one. And they finally were able to do something where they made him lighthearted.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play into the fact that he's like a fun, goofy kind of guy, and they did that a lot better this time. Yeah.
And some goofy cameos for his as well. But Fast X out in theaters. Again, it's one of those where we're in movie season where if you want to see this in Dolby, I don't know about you, this is another discussion to have. Disney shut them out. In our theater, and I kind of looked at yours as well, they were not giving Fast X press screeners in the Dolby Theater because they're like, nah. Guardians is still in theaters and it's making money. Yet the next day, they made sure to get rid of a Guardian screening for The Little Mermaid, which is what we're covering up next. So be sure to catch Fast X in a premium theater if you want to.